Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thanks for being here. If you enjoy my videos, please subscribe and let's get started.
What if I told you that your heart does far more than simply pump blood? What if it also influences your thoughts, your decisions, and perhaps even your spiritual state? Would you believe it? More than 1,400 years ago, the Quran described the heart as more than a physical organ. It called it the Qalb, the place where faith takes root, where truth is recognized, and where the condition of the heart can shape a person's entire life. Then, centuries later, neuroscience revealed something remarkable. The human heart contains an intrinsic network of more than 40,000 neurons, often referred to as the heart's little brain. Rather than only receiving commands from the brain, the heart continuously sends information back to it through complex neural pathways. So, could the Quran's concept of the Qalb and modern science's understanding of the heart-brain connection be two perspectives on the same profound reality? Or have we spent generations thinking of the heart as nothing more than a pump, while overlooking its deeper role? In today's video, we'll explore this fascinating question through the lens of the Quran, neuroscience, and scientific research. And by the end, you may never look at your heart the same way again.
What if I told you that your heart does far more than simply pump blood? What if it also influences your thoughts, your decisions, and perhaps even your spiritual state? Would you believe it? More than 1,400 years ago, the Quran described the heart as more than a physical organ. It called it the Qalb, the center of faith, understanding, and moral awareness. It is where belief takes root, where truth is recognized, and where the condition of the heart can shape an entire person's life. Then, centuries later, neuroscience uncovered something remarkable. The human heart contains an intrinsic network of more than 40,000 neurons, often referred to as the heart's little brain. Rather than simply receiving commands from the brain, the heart continuously sends information back to it, influencing emotions, perception, and decision-making through complex neural pathways. So, could the Quran's concept of the Qalb and modern science's understanding of the heart-brain connection be two perspectives on the same profound reality? Or have we spent generations thinking of the heart as nothing more than a pump, while overlooking its deeper significance? In today's video, we'll explore this fascinating question through the lens of the Quran, neuroscience, and scientific research. By the end, you may never look at your heart the same way again. What if I told you your heart is far more than just a blood pump? What if your heart influences the way you think, the choices you make, and perhaps even your spiritual condition? Would you believe it? More than 1,400 years ago, the Quran described the heart as more than a physical organ. It called it the Qalb, the center of faith, understanding, wisdom, and moral awareness. It is where truth is recognized, where faith is nurtured, and where the condition of the heart can determine the direction of a person's entire life. Centuries later, modern neuroscience made a remarkable discovery. Scientists found that the human heart possesses its own intrinsic nervous system, containing more than 40,000 neurons, often referred to as the heart's little brain. The heart does not simply receive instructions from the brain, it continuously sends signals back to the brain, influencing emotions, attention, perception, memory, and decision-making. This raises a fascinating question. Could the Quran's concept of the Qalb and modern science's understanding of the heart-brain connection be describing different aspects of the same reality? Or have we spent centuries reducing the heart to nothing more than a mechanical pump, while overlooking one of the most extraordinary parts of the human body? In this video, we'll explore what the Quran says about the Qalb, examine the latest discoveries in neuroscience, and uncover the scientific evidence behind the heart-brain connection. By the end, you may never look at your heart the same way again. Now the question is, does modern science also see the heart as more than just a pump? To answer that question, we need to step into the fascinating world of neurocardiology. During the 1990s, scientists developed a new field of research known as neurocardiology. This field revealed something truly remarkable. The human heart possesses a complex intrinsic nervous system, which many researchers describe as the heart's little brain. This network contains more than 40,000 specialized nerve cells, or neurons. These neurons receive sensory information, process it locally within the heart, and remain in continuous communication with the brain through the autonomic nervous system. In other words, the heart does not simply wait for instructions from the brain. It constantly sends its own physiological information back to the brain. Research has also shown that communication between the heart and the brain is bidirectional. While the brain regulates the heart also influences various regions of the brain through its electrical and neural signals, particularly those involved in attention, emotional processing, and autonomic regulation. Now, let's talk about emotions. Whenever we experience intense emotions such as fear, anger, love, or inner peace, the brain's limbic system, especially the amygdala and the hippocampus, plays a vital role. These structures process emotional responses and immediately send signals to the heart through the autonomic nervous system. That is why, when we are frightened, our heartbeat suddenly accelerates. And in moments of overwhelming joy or deep shock, it can feel as though the heart briefly skips a beat. But the story doesn't end there. The pattern of the heart's rhythm, known as heart rate variability, also sends signals back to the brain. Research suggests that HRV is closely associated with emotional regulation, stress resilience, and cognitive performance. In reality, this is a continuous feedback loop. The brain sends signals to the heart responds and sends information back to the brain, and together they shape our emotional and physiological responses. This is why organizations such as the HeartMath Institute study heart-brain communication and emotional self-regulation. At the same time, universities and mainstream neuroscience researchers have published numerous studies exploring this field. Now, take a moment to think. The Quran tells us that the Qalb is not merely the seat of emotions. It is the center of guidance, intention, and a person's inner spiritual condition. Today, neuroscience tells us that the heart and the brain are engaged in deep two-way communication, where signals from the heart can influence emotional and cognitive functioning. One important point should be made clear. We are not claiming that the Quran is a science textbook, nor are we saying that neuroscience has proven the Quran. However, when divine revelation and modern scientific research appear to point in the same direction, it is worth asking one thoughtful question. Could it be that the reality of the Qalb, described by the Quran more than 1,400 years ago, is something that science is only now beginning to understand?
So far, we've explored what the Quran says, and we've also looked at the findings of modern neuroscience. Now comes the most important question. When we place these two perspectives side by side, what message do they offer for our everyday lives? The first lesson is this. Islam introduces the concepts of Qalb-e-Salim, a sound heart, and Qalb-e-Marid, a diseased heart. In other words,
There is a healthy heart, and there is a heart afflicted by spiritual diseases such as envy, anger, arrogance, heedlessness, and hatred. On the other hand, neuroscience tells us that chronic stress, persistent anger, and prolonged negative emotional states can affect the autonomic nervous system and heart rate variability, HRV. When HRV decreases, our ability to regulate
When HRV decreases, our ability to regulate emotions and cope with stress may also become weaker. In other words, the spiritual and physical dimensions are distinct, but they can profoundly influence one another. Now, the second lesson. Islam teaches us to keep the heart alive through dhikr, the remembrance of Allah, patience, supplication, trust in Allah, tawakkul, and regular self-reflection. From the scientific perspective, research suggests that slow, rhythmic breathing, mindfulness, and relaxation techniques can help regulate the nervous system and improve heart rate variability. One important distinction must be understood. These practices do not share the same purpose or foundation. The purpose of Islamic worship is to draw closer to Allah and achieve spiritual purification, whereas scientific techniques are designed to study and improve physiological regulation. However, certain physiological effects may overlap. And now, the third lesson, perhaps the most profound of all. The Quran reminds us that true success is not found only in a brilliant mind, but also in a pure heart. Neuroscience, meanwhile, shows that the best decision-making occurs when our emotional system and our rational brain work together in harmony. In other words, a balanced life cannot be guided by emotions alone, nor by logic alone. When the heart is at peace, and the mind makes decisions guided by wisdom and truth, that is when a human being is at their very best. That is why, when we say, take care of your heart, for Islam, it is a spiritual responsibility. And for science, it is an essential part of physical health and emotional well-being. Perhaps that is why protecting the heart is far more than an emotional expression. It is a profound message, one that reaches into every aspect of what it means to be human.
So far, we have explored the teachings of the Quran and the findings of neuroscience. But the real question is, what does this knowledge have to do with our everyday lives? This is where real transformation begins. The first step: practice daily self-accountability of your Qalb, heart. Every night before you sleep, take just 2 minutes to ask yourself, who was I envious of today? What made me angry? Where did pride enter my heart? And what brought me closer to Allah today? This habit helps a person move towards spiritual self-improvement. Psychology also suggests that self-reflection and emotional awareness can contribute to better emotional regulation. The second step: find peace through the remembrance of Allah. Whenever you feel restless, stressed, or anxious, take slow, deep breaths and remember Allah. According to scientific research, slow, rhythmic breathing can help calm the nervous system.
And the Quran reminds us, indeed, it is through the remembrance of Allah that hearts find tranquility. Surah Al-Ra'd 13:28, meaning, the purpose of worship is not merely to achieve peace of mind, but to seek closeness to Allah and His pleasure. Inner peace can be one of its blessed outcomes. The third step: purify your heart from envy and resentment. The true beauty of the Qalb is not found in its heartbeat, but in its purity. Strive to forgive others, show mercy, and maintain a good opinion of people. The Quran tells us that Prophet Ibrahim, peace be upon him, came before Allah with a Qalb Salim, a sound and pure heart. And Allah says in meaning, the day when neither wealth nor children will benefit anyone except the one who comes to Allah with a pure heart. Surah Ash-Shu'ara 26:88-89. This is the conclusion of our entire discussion. Take care of your brain's health, but even more importantly, take care of the health of your qalb. Because a healthy brain may help you succeed in this world, but it is a Qalb Salim, a pure and sound heart, that brings true peace in this life and, by Allah's permission, becomes the means of salvation in the hereafter.
So friends, today we've seen that the Quran and neuroscience, though they speak in two different languages, both point to the same reality. The heart is not only the center of emotions, but also the center of understanding, decision-making, and spirituality. If you found this video insightful, please give it a like, share it with your friends who are interested in both faith and science, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Tell us in the comments, when will you begin your own heart audit? Until we meet again in the next video, Allah Hafiz.